Hi guys, my name is Stavros. I'm the author of the Tome of 6, Book 1 of the Fateful Force, and today I have another Warbow video versus armor. A lot of people in the comments from my previous videos were asking for when are we going to have the chrono test and the speed test for my two 105-pound heavy Warbows. Unfortunately, this is not that video. I have injured my right rotator cuff. It's an old injury from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've re-injured my right rotator cuff. It's not severe, so I can still use my 87-pound bow, but I don't want to re-inflame the injury. So I'm not sure when I'll be doing the speed and chrono tests for the 105-pound bows. I've got the H1 heavy draw from Ali bow, and I've also got the 105-pounder 28-inch Pacific U self bow made by Ravenbeak. In this video, we are going to up the protective value of the armor against this 87-pound Warbow. We have got a sample of mail or chain mail on top of the 30 layers of linen of the Steel Mastery Gambeson sample. Now, in our previous tests, the Steel Mastery Gambeson sample proved quite resistive against this bow with a number of different war arrows. Yes, some of those arrows were penetrating the armor to just under 3 inches. No arrow actually got beyond the 3-inch mark past the Gambeson. The links to those videos will be in the description. If you haven't seen those videos, go back and check them out to see how this bow fares against that armor, as well as I've got other videos testing this bow through the chrono so we can see how much energy it does produce. Now, I'll give you a summary of that. This bow produces somewhere between 60 and 71 joules of energy depending on the weight of the arrows. Arrows that are sub 600 grains tend to be closer to the 60 joules of energy, whereas arrows that are about over 900 or 950 grains, the heavier arrows, even though they are far slower, they tend to produce 65 to 70 joules of energy. The mail sample we have today was provided to me by Battle Merch. It's a 4-in-1 riveted mail pattern. The inner diameter of the mail is 0.6 millimeters, so it's actually quite a tight weave. It's not the tightest weave that we do know from historical examples. However, it is well within the range of what we expect, and it is actually probably on the tighter side of the weave in the range. The wires themselves are about 0.65 to 0.7 millimeters in thickness, the flat wires, whereas the round link is 1 millimeter. I'll bring the video down now so we can actually have a look at the armor so you can inspect it on the video. What we have here today is, again, the 30 layers of linen in the Steel Mastery sample. This is actually a fresh sample. So when I had ordered these samples from Steel Mastery, they sent me 3 samples. This one's a fresh one. I don't want it to be perforated by previous tests so that we can get as accurate results as possible. But again, it's 30 layers, and this is the mail pattern. I've left it hanging a little bit, as you can see. So it's sewn along the top here to simulate kind of like a hanging fabric that would whether it be a shirt or a hauberk or something along those lines on a soldier of the time. So it is a little bit free flowing down the bottom here. The arrows we are going to use in this test are going to be the arrows that did achieve penetration against this armor in our previous tests. So that will be the Crecy, the Hector Cole Crecy. It'll be the Shire Archery square sectioned needles. I've got also the Hector Cole and the Will Sherman diamond sectioned needles, type 7s, and we also have the Will Sherman iron square sectioned needle bodkins as well. Those are the arrows that did penetrate. We did get some penetration on the Chippenham type 1 arrow as well. I'm not going to use that in this test. For some reason, the Chippenham type 1 doesn't stabilize really well at 8 yards, and because I'm at home and for safety reasons, it goes off target a little bit. Now I do have a foam boards, high density foam boards behind the target along my wall. It is reinforced, but for those reasons, I don't want to risk the arrows that don't really stabilize really well, just in case they go off target. But I think we have a really good selection of arrows here that we can test against this material based on our previous results to see how we go. The first arrow will be the 792 grain Crecy. That definitely bounced off. I'm actually going to check it out though. Let's see if it actually damaged any of the rivets, and we'll come and revisit it. Okay, so this is actually burst one of the rivets in here, you can see right there, and created a hole in the Gambeson, but it hasn't actually penetrated through. Okay, let's show you this on camera. So this is actually one of the burst links. As you can see here, it looks like it's actually burst at the rivet. Okay, next arrow, 950 grain Crecy. That's actually, I think, missed the male. I'm gonna mark that off. Anything that doesn't hit the male and hits the Gambeson, I'm still gonna mark off and measure, and we'll just add it to the data samples that we already have existing. Okay, much the same as our last test. It is about 80 mils minus 10.5, so we're looking at 69.5 mils of penetration past the Gambeson. It's another miss. It's gone slightly wide again. Let's go mark it off and add it to the data points. Yeah, that's probably our deepest we've gone with the Crecy so far on any test. 90 mils actually. So we're looking at 79.5 past the Gambeson. That's definitely the deepest we've ever achieved with the Crecys. That's actually stuck in. Okay, so that's definitely gone through. Ooh, 70 mils of penetration. So we're looking at 59.5 actually through the male and through the Gambeson. So the 950 grain arrow seems to be carrying quite a bit of energy with it. And it could be that difference. Could be that difference that you know, 70 joules of energy versus the 60 joules of energy. The heavy arrows tend to be carrying a bit more extra energy in them because of the weight, and they seem to have that momentum and keep going through the target. Let's hit it again with a 950 grain arrow. See how we go. Again, not super deep, but definitely penetrating, definitely bursting the rivets and carrying on through. So this one is a little bit less again. We're looking at 69 millimeters, sorry. So 58.5 millimeters past the Gambeson. I'm gonna hit it again with a 950 grain arrow, and I'm gonna go back to the 760 to demonstrate that I think that's what's happening here. Same arrowhead, same crafter, Hector Cole, same bow obviously, same draw length, but the heavy arrow seems to be carrying its momentum more, generating more energy. Again, that is definitely bursting through the male and getting stuck into the Gambeson. We'll measure that one again and see how we go. This one seems to be a little bit less again, but again, nothing significantly less. We're looking at 66 mils, so 55.5 mils past the Gambeson. Again, does tend to be slowing down the Crecy compared to our other tests, but not by all that much actually. It's really bursting through the rivets, the links in the male. It's probably robbing it of a little bit of energy, but it's still carrying enough energy to actually penetrate. I want to go back to the 760 grain arrow. Let's put a couple more on target of that one and try and get that what I suspect is the what really is happening here with the weight of the arrows. 792 grain Hector Cole Crecy. As you saw, that didn't even hit the male and bounced straight off the Gambeson. 792 grain Crecy again. And there we go, bouncing off. Let's hit it one more time. Okay, 792 Hector Cole Crecy. And that's the bounce. Definitely bouncing with the 792 grain Crecy. So definitely there is a relationship between the momentum and the weight of the arrow and the energy it's producing when we're definitely using the same arrowheads from the exact same arrow smith. But let's progress. Let's move on to the needles and see how they fare. Okay, moving on. Now use the Shire Archery square section needle bodkins. This one is 710 grain. It's gotten stuck in. Looks like it's spread the rivet, didn't burst it. Looks like it's bent them, but it hasn't gone all the way through. No. Okay, I turned the camera off before I showed this. This is really interesting. This is why it didn't penetrate. It's curled the needle. These are mild steel, modern mild steel needles from Shire Archery. I can fix this, but I'm not going to do it right now. I do have another needle. That is really interesting. This shows you that the male is definitely doing something. I mean, which is understandable. It's logical it's doing something. It's some type of material. But the Crecy's, let me grab. The Crecy's are not only generating more energy, they're more robust. They're a more robust type arrow, and they seem to be obviously bursting the rivets, going through the male. They're not warping and curling like this one has, and then just carrying enough energy that even after going through the male, it's carrying through the Gambeson as well. Again, less than it was without the male, but still going through, which is really, really, really interesting. I've got another Shire Archery square sectioned needle. It's right here. This one's good. Let's hit it again. Okay, so Shire Archery needle number 2, 770 grains, a little bit heavier. Let's see how this one goes. You can see it's stuck in. Let me peel this back. Oh, it actually has got some penetration all the way through. So we saw that did penetrate all the way through. And again, it has slightly curled the tip on this one. Not as bad as the other one. That one is easier to fix. I can fix that now, and I will do that. I'll fix that now and then give it another go. But it hasn't penetrated all that far past the Gambeson. We're looking at 47.5. So about 36.5 millimeters past the Gambeson. Definitely taking some of the sting off. I mean, the other one didn't penetrate, curled the head. This one definitely curled as well. I'll go and fix this now, and then we'll give it another go. Okay, so I fixed this arrowhead. This one was a very easy fix, but we'll keep using this 770 grain arrow and see how it fares now. Okay, that has most definitely penetrated. It is bursting, again, bursting the links at the rivets. We have lost that arrow though. It is actually snapped, but we can still measure the penetration on this one, 73 millimeters, so 62.5 past the Gambeson. Definitely seeing it defeating the male and carrying on through the Gambeson to defeat the Gambeson as well, while damaging the arrows. So let's move on though. Let's try the Hector Cole and the Will Sherman Type 7 diamond section needles. We're obviously damaging a lot of arrows doing this, but I suppose this is part of the testing. So first we'll go with the Hector Cole Type 7 needles. This one is 920 grains, pretty heavy one, diamond section needle. That actually didn't even hit the male, but it actually bounced off the Gambeson itself. Let's try again. This one is 910 grains, Type 7 Hector Cole needle bodkin. That's actually stuck in. Actually, we ended up going pretty deep. And we're looking at 147, so 136.5 millimeters past the Gambeson. It was on the edge though. I'm not sure if that counts as hitting the male, but we just saw a moment ago similar weight arrow. This one's 900 and this one's 910. The other one was 920 grain. Just bounced off the Gambeson, whereas this one actually penetrated quite deep. So we're definitely getting some really variable results, and we've seen this throughout all the tests actually. We're getting some consistency on some results, and then other results it's just widely different. And it could be just a variable resistance of the armor in different spots. Maybe some spots are a little bit thicker, some spots are a little bit thinner. You know, the Gambeson is between 10 and 11 millimeters in thickness. So you know, it's got about 10.5 millimeter on average, but we might be hitting thinner points, or simply just the weave in the linen itself might be weaker at certain points. I can't tell, but we're definitely getting some variable results. I'm going to hit it again, see how we go with the 910 grain Hector Cole Type 7 needle. That's actually a miss completely. Hasn't even hit the Gambeson. I'm going to mark that off like I've done in all the other tests, where I show that when it doesn't hit material, how much it actually does penetrate into the foam. I know this is not ballistic gel, I say that in every single test, but it's good to see that kind of representation, to see when it doesn't hit material, what difference the materials actually do make compared to just hitting the target foam. You can see on the camera there, zoom it back, again, going super deep. We've seen this in every single test. When it hits the foam, It's really going very deep. So again, this one is 285, so we're looking at 274.5 millimeters through the foam. Massive penetration. Let's hit it again. 910 grains. Let's try and hit the male. Okay, that's actually penetrated the Gambeson again this time. I'll mark that one off. We'll add it to the data point. Looks like the Type 7s are actually achieving some penetration today. We've got, interesting, 105. So we're looking at 94.5 millimeters past the Gambeson. That actually hasn't penetrated. It's been obviously gone through the male. We saw it actually fall over. It didn't damage the arrow, which is really good. But it hasn't actually penetrated through the Gambeson. So we'll go with the 796 grain Will Sherman needle, diamond section needle bodkin. Okay, 36. So we're looking at about 25.5 millimeters through the Gambeson itself. Let's go with the 759 grain. But it hasn't gone all the way through. Let me just take these off. And here, there's nothing actually sticking out the back of it. I can feel it right there. It's just beneath the layer. It's very close. I reckon it's probably another couple layers and it would have gone through. But we can see definitely the male is doing something, I suppose, but it doesn't seem to be doing all that much. Okay, so the first iron Type 7 square section needle is going to be the Will Sherman one. It's going to be 789 grains. That's actually got stuck in, and I reckon that may have penetrated the Gambeson. Let's take the camera down there and see that. I'm not going to pull this one out. I'm going to leave it in because, like I said, it's going to be really hard to get this out. I have to cut it out based on my last test. But I do have another iron one here, and we'll fire that one at it as well and see how that goes. But let's just go take the camera down and see how this one went. You can see that there. It has definitely penetrated all the way through. Okay, so we left that one in. That definitely did penetrate. So we'll try the next iron one. We're going to leave that in, and then once we get 2 hits, solid hits on target with these iron ones, we'll pull them out, cut them out I should say, and measure how far they did go. But so this one is 800 grains, needle bodkin, Will Sherman, square sectioned iron. Okay, that is stuck in. Looks to have gone in a similar amount as the previous one. It does appear to be, yep, 2 needles are sticking out the back. We know specifically with these ones, they grab the material, so they're very unlikely, it's very unlikely for them to shift while I tamper with them. I'm going to mark these off about 25 and 23 millimeters past the Gambeson. And in all honesty, I don't think we're seeing a massive difference between the Gambeson on its own and the male. The male seems to be definitely doing something. Even against the Crecies, we did see a reduction in penetration when it does hit the male first and then goes into the Gambeson. I mean, that's not a surprise. It's got to expend some energy to burst the male, but we're not seeing this kind of massive like denial. It's not like the male is adding another layer of protection on top of the Gambeson to totally defeat the arrows. Yeah, we were getting some bounces, but we were getting those bounces anyway just with the Gambeson and other tests. Definitely with the 792, I think it is. Yeah, 792 grain Crecy, the lighter Crecy, consistently again bouncing off the male, bouncing off the Gambeson. The 950 grain Crecy, consistently penetrating the Gambeson and the male. However, apart from that one Crecy where it hit the Gambeson and it penetrated further than any other arrow, the other ones did penetrate to similar depths as all our other previous tests. And when it did hit the male, it's definitely taking some of the sting out of it, but not enough. This is, you know, retail male. It is riveted. I've shown you that. It's riveted. I've given you the dimensions of it, 0.6 millimeters in a diameter. The flat rings themselves are between 0.65 and 0.7 millimeters in thickness. Maybe that's too thin for male, I don't know. But it is modern mild steel, or at least I think it's modern mild steel. It's obviously resistive enough to curl two of the needles, but whether it's good quality male compared to what you would expect of the period, I can't tell. We were seeing on Todd Workshop's test, they're using Joe Gibbs 150-pound bow, which we know is producing about 120 to 130 joules of energy, and the Aventail was made a male, and it was far more energy than my bow's producing, and that Aventail was actually defeating the arrows consistently almost every single time. And the times that the arrows did penetrate through the male, they weren't actually going into the target beneath the male. They were getting deflected or coming out at an angle, or not just going deep enough to get past the leather that was below the Aventail. So definitely quality of materials do matter. We demonstrated that in our first test with the two different textile armors, both being 30 layers of linen, and no doubt it's going to make a difference with the male. I'm sure during the period they would have known quality and what wasn't quality at the time. They would have known what materials to source, who to manufacture armor from, and that's probably a little bit more difficult in today's day and age, because what we're doing is unusual. It's not a typical thing of the age. We don't use these weapons anymore and these armors anymore. But what I conclude from this test is, yeah, obviously the male is making some small difference, but it's not making enough of a difference against an 87-pound bow, which is generating between 65 and 70 joules of energy for the heavy arrows, and between 60 and 65 joules of energy for the lighter arrows, which is actually surprising to me. And again, what we are seeing is the Crecys and the needles much the same, although I didn't test the other arrowheads against this. They're defeating the Gambeson again consistently, not by a massive amount, except for that 1-1 Crecy. Again, I don't know why that's a variable result, because we've seen them bounce. It's particularly the 792 grain Crecy, but again, that's probably the reason behind that is the lighter arrow is producing slightly less energy, so it just doesn't have enough energy to go through all the layers, whereas the 920 and 950 grain arrows have just enough energy to go through the layers and then continue into the foam. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As you can see, I'm damaging a lot of materials here. I've damaged a few arrows. Some of that is user error, that's on me, but as you can see, I am damaging some of these arrows. I have mentioned before, I am an independent author. If you like my videos, first and foremost, please subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you are informed every single time I do put a new video up. I do endeavour to do a speed test at some point with my 105-pound bows once my shoulder is a little bit better today. It's definitely aches a little bit, but it's not to the point where it's stopping me from actually using the bow. But if you are a fantasy fan and you do like to read, please give an independent a go. If you like the quality of my videos and you think that will translate into my literature, then please take a chance on me. And thank you very much for watching this video again, and stay tuned for the next video.